Entry 12. God of Light. Company 7 breaking news. The mysterious boat that causes people or items to vanish from reality for 2 weeks has vanished. Company 7 agents are all over the globe, searching for the artifact. Company 7 agents have joined forces with another agency, and they will be around the warehouse looking for clues. Do not question the ones who wear deer head masks. Continue your business as usual. Do not question anything. That's what was on the TV when a group of JPI agents and I entered the warehouse. All of us, except for me and Mitchell, wore deer head masks that were all different colours. Everyone followed the rules on the TV, as weird people and groups often collaborated with the warehouse. The day when we arrived at 90YK, the cruise ship, the one that made people vanish for a few weeks, vanished itself. It had never been explored, and there weren't any leads to go on, but the fact that it disappeared on the same day we entered the village was already a connection.
"Kieran,"
someone called. I looked to see Luke Danron, my supervisor. "What?"
"I must give you this,"
he replied, handing me over a file. What? By the time I looked up, he was gone. I looked at the file, and it read, "A modern-day 90YK floating temple." This was odd. The cave had a temple, but a temple on a ship. I needed to read the file. I called over Mitchell, and together we began to read it. The date is the 12th of February, and the year is 1918. We have discovered a shipwrecked cruise ship in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It's odd. We see many connections to the recent sightings of a far more ancient ghost ship with a pyramid on top of it, with strange statues and strange music. This ancient one seems to be related to our Kokayu investigations. The shipwrecked cruise ship is unmistakably large, larger than any ship I've ever seen. But before we entered the cruise ship, while we were in our submarine, a peculiar event occurred. A man appeared behind us, whistling a familiar yet unknown tune. We were scared because of his eyes, which glowed white, and the odd hat. But then he introduced himself as the hitchhiker. He claimed that entering the shipwreck would bring misfortune upon us. We were going to ask him questions, but before we knew it, the man was gone. And that's when we entered the shipwreck. We will not continue to detail the happenings while exploring the place. It is far too dangerous for even the higher-ups of Company 7 to know. Attached, we have taken several photos of proof we have been there. And the first page of the report ended. Attached were strange, blurry, distorted files. But they all looked exactly like the temple in the caves of 90YK. There were strange statues all around, some of them haired, like the caves, and others we had never seen before. There were also several photos of insects that looked incredibly familiar, as well as a note that said they recovered 6 strange skulls from the site. These skulls, I assumed, were the 6 skulls of the Kokayu. One of the photos showed a corpse on top of an altar, with something that looked like a sacrificial knife stuck in its chest. A note told me it was bleeding continuous black goo. There were paintings everywhere, in every photo. Paintings of burning children, drawings of animals, tentacles reaching from the sky, and many more, including a painting of a boss with a hitchhiker at the wheel. Then I realized something in all the photos. The hitchhiker, no, Kane Hunter, was in every one. Always in the background, always hard to find, watching, just there. This was it. The answers to all the events I'd encountered. Everything, from the painting, the classroom, the cabin, the village, the bus, and the caves. The only things I didn't understand were how Leviathan Kane and the woman in the coffee shop, the one being stalked by something, fit into everything. Perhaps they were outliers, but the only thing connecting Kane to the mystery was his interaction with the dark salesman, Kane Hunter. We need to find out more about this, I decided.
Agreed,
Mitchell agreed.
I will notify the Julian Page Institute. Meet me here tomorrow, 6 in the morning sharp.
I nodded, and Mitchell went away, bringing the file with him. My dreams were strange that night. I was in a city, and there were such strange things. If I looked too long at someone, their faces would twist and fold in so many times it made my head hurt. In the distant horizon, I saw something rising, a Kokeu god, and on the roofs of skyscrapers I saw Kane Hunter watching my every move. At 6, I met Mitchell at the cafeteria.
"Follow me," he said.
I followed.
"We found the boat. It took a while, but eventually we were able to make sense of it all. We believe that Gale Shard is attempting to use this boat to summon the God of Light."
"But she needs the School of the Blinded," I replied.
"We think," he paused, "we think there are more schools than the 6. It just takes 6 to summon the god."
"Or it could be a trap," I theorized. "I shouldn't bring my skull."
"We must use the skull," Mitchell defended. "The insects will be on the ship, and our researchers at 90YK have proven that the insects are afraid of the skull. As long as we have it with us, they won't escape from the statues."
"Let us hope that is true." Mitchell nodded in agreement. After that, we boarded a large airplane, full with a team of the Institute's finest soldiers, and a group of Company 7s as well. It took us only an hour to reach the boat, which was floating in the ocean. It was magnificent, and I can think of no words to tell of its perfection. It was no longer a shipwreck, but a functioning ship, and worst of all, there was a pyramid in the center of it, reaching high in the sky.
"How do we get down there?" I exclaimed.
"With," Mitchell smiled and winked,
"parachutes."
"Oh, damn it. I hate parachutes." We jumped from the plane and quickly flew down upon the ship. Surprisingly, there were no guards. Gale Shard must have underestimated our ability to find the ship.
"Everyone split up,"
Mitchell ordered. Everyone went in groups of 2 or 3s, and I was with Mitchell.
"Hello,"
a voice called, and the 2 of us turned to see the hitchhiker.
"Welcome to the second floating Temple of Light."
"Who are you?" I growled, holding up my pistol right at him.
"Me, you, who are we all?" the man replied. "Anyway, I reckon the sky goes dark in 3, 2, 1.
The man vanished before our very eyes, just as the world went pitch black.
"What the hell?"
Mitchell snarled, rushing to turn on a flashlight. "Mitchell, look," I told, pointing at the sky.
"Oh my God."
In the sky, instead of a bright shining sun, was something else. A large black eye looking at the boat, twitching, turning, and staring into our souls like a predator watching prey. We heard a loud bang and turned to look at the top of the pyramid. A beam of pure white light was coming from the tip and going straight up into the sky, connecting into the center of the black eye.
"The pyramid! Now!" I shouted.
We both rushed into the pyramid, facing 2 beings, the ones with long limbs and elongated necks. They growled at us and charged. We dodged their hooked claws, one which almost managed to graze me. Mitchell was not so lucky, and I saw a leg kick him, sending him tumbling into a group of statues.
"Mitchell, catch!"
I yelled, throwing my skull into the air, just as insects began to pour out of the statues. He caught it, and the insects immediately began to turn away. One of the monsters, one I recognized to be the one I saw in the forest, charged at me. I steadied my gun and fired. It only took 2 shots to the head to bring it down, causing its fearsome form to shiver, vibrate, and then explode into 1,000 bits of fiery ash. The other creature, one I recognized as the Drowned, yelled out a roar as it turned to mourn its friend. Mitchell shot it 3 times, and it too exploded into fiery dust. "Close one," I murmured.
"Let's go,"
Mitchell reminded. We had a world to save. We rushed up the first flight of stairs on the pyramid. It was made of strange black stone I had only seen once before. The black gate, which had followed me. The second floor had several of Gale Shard's followers, cultists perhaps. They looked at us, confused. They had overestimated the power of their creatures. They charged at us with sacrificial knives.
"Never bring a knife to a gunfight," I joked,
as we fired upon them. They fell to the ground, dead. Suddenly, I saw a tentacle send Mitchell flying into the air and onto the ground. I looked to see the flytrap drawers of a shadow path looking right at me. I ran as it snapped at me and fired shots to no effect. Without warning, I found myself out of bullets. The shadow path approached, looking almost human, with its curling, twisting tentacles. With a free hand, I reached for a sacrificial knife. Its jaws were mere inches from my face, and it seemed to smile, as if to mock me. The creature roared and prepared to rip my head off when I swung up my hand and stabbed the inside of the shadow path's throat. It let out a painful wail as I stood up and twisted the knife from its throat. A sickly-smelling dark blood oozed out of it, some landing on me as the monster let out a final roar before falling to the ground, dead. It looked weak, defeated. "Mitchell!" I yelled, running to his aid. He had been stabbed by the hooked claws of the shadow path.
I'll be fine," he managed. "Take my gun. Stop Gale Shard."
"I will." I took his gun, reloaded my own, and ran up the final flight of stairs. Cultists tried to stop me, but their pitiful knives were nothing against bullets. At last, I saw Gale Shard, in the centre of the room, where the beam light came from the ground, shooting into the ceiling and beyond. "Gale Shard!" I called. "What have you done? The God of Light will rise once again!" she snarled, turning and raising her own gun at me. "You cannot stop the inevitable." "I want answers," I demanded. "I will stop you." "You will try," she growled, and she fired her gun. I ducked, dodging the bullet as I ran up to her. We fought, hand to hand, using our knives, each of our guns being sent to the floor, discarded. One of my guns went straight into the beam of light, and it was reduced to nothingness. "You cannot stop me," Gale cackled, sending a final kick to my stomach. I fell to the floor, defeated. "Then tell me why you were doing this," I growled. "Because I will destroy all that is evil," Gale snapped back. "Every single cursed thing in this realm will be destroyed, and in its place, we will have paradise."
"You will not have paradise,"
a voice declared. The hitchhiker was now in the room, facing Gale.
"But a hell of your own creation."
"And how would you know? You denied your own paradise and were cursed to spend a century walking the earth alone."
My brother Kane Hunter, choose to create paradise. Look what happened to him."
"I know different." I disappeared to hide behind a statue and plan out my moves as the two argued over something I would never understand. That's when I found a way to stop Gale Shard. Insects. I began to quietly walk around the room, catching a smile from the hitchhiker as I did, placing grenades everywhere. "Wait!" Gale began, realizing where I was. "Kieran Gray!" She turned and looked everywhere, and at last found me about to leave the room. "What? What are you doing?" she questioned. "Leaving so soon?" "Perhaps," I smiled, unpinning a grenade behind my back. "Perhaps not." "What are you doing?" Gale growled, realizing I was about to throw something behind my back. "Saving the world." I threw the grenade at the nearest statue, exploding with a flurry of burning insects. The second grenade I had placed exploded, causing a chain reaction all over the room. As the ceiling began to collapse, I saw Gale Shard shocked, paralysed in place. I ran, escaping, running down the stairs, finding Mitchell. "Mitchell, we have to go."
"Right."
We used every bit of his remaining strength, and together we pushed down the stairs as the black pyramid began to collapse. I heard a distant Gale yell something as we escaped the pyramid. We were lucky. The pyramid crumbled, crashing down in an avalanche of black stone, strange uncanny statues, and dying insects. We looked to the sky to see the black eye begin to dim, until there was nothing. The beam of light began to falter, and at last, vanish. In the events after the Battle of the Floating Temple, Kieran Gray, Mitchell Valeris, and agents involved in the mission were evacuated. The ship, now with a collapsed pyramid, now sits in Company 7's warehouse. However, the bodies of Gale Shard, the hitchhiker, Leviathan Kane, and Kane Hunter are unaccounted for. We may never know who Gaelshard really was, and what the God of Light truly is, nor explain Leviathan Kane's stronger connections to the mystery. But one thing is certain. The JPI, in an act of collaboration with Company 7, has recovered all the Kokeu skulls and spread them far across the world. We can only hope we never see the rise of the God of Light. Quint Mognis. A news clipping, I added.